Shalom. I know it's been quite some time since you've seen me, and probably don't even care. But um, sometimes making these videos and just talking, even if nobody ever watches them, can be a little bit therapeutic. So, why don't I just go ahead and talk to you about what has been going on? So, um, it's been quite a few things that have happened. One of the things, I was at work. I work at a hotel front desk, and I was talking to this couple, and they asked me what my name was. I said Leah, and somehow I wound up telling them what my son's. No, I know what it was. They were like, "Oh, that's pretty. It's biblical." And I was like, "Yeah, my son's name is biblical too." And they asked me what it was, and I said Manasseh. And it just so happened that they were, it was a pastor and his wife, and they had just started over in the book of Genesis, and they were at the part where Manasseh was being blessed. So they went up to their room, and then the wife called me, and she was like, "Hey, please don't think we're weird, but the Lord is telling us to give you something, and we would like for you to come back tomorrow." Now, the next day was my off day, but they were like, "We would like for you to come back tomorrow so we can give it to you." And I didn't feel any alarms going off. As a matter of fact, I felt like Ruach HaKodesh was like, "Yeah, go ahead and do this." So I told them I would come back, and we met like right in front of the entrance of the hotel. So, I mean, if they were trying to do anything shady, like everybody would have seen. But what wound up happening was they gave me this beautiful card, had a lovely, they wrote something very nice in the front, Jesus loves you and so do we. And then they had on the inside of the card, it was this amazing um, message. One of the things that it says was, "You are a woman of God, and He loves you and He sees you." And I don't know, it was right on time. They didn't know some of the things that I had been, dealing with at the time, that because I didn't mention any of the things I was going through with them. We literally just mostly talked about them, and very briefly just mentioned me and what my name is, my son's name. So I knew it was nothing but God. So on the inside of the envelope that they gave me was $1,000. I hadn't even prayed and asked him to give me $1,000. I want you guys to see my new mug. Coffee is always a good idea. Of course, this is tea, but I've been drinking too much coffee. And it's like orange spice. I've never had it before. It was really good. But anyway, so then this past Wednesday, so that was like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So this past Wednesday, I was trying to, because I do food deliveries on the side. Like, that's my little side hustle that I do. And so I can take my son when I do the little food deliveries, because nobody really cares that I'm bringing my son in to pick up the food. And with COVID going on, a lot of the people request for you to just drop the food off at their door, so it's not like I have to actually see the people. And the ones that I do have to see, like, a lot of times they wind up, you know, conversing with my son because they think he's cute. My son attracts all kinds of people. He's got some type of anointing on his life. But anyway, said all that to say, everything I tried to do that day to do the food deliveries, it just wasn't working out. Down to the fact that my GPS on my phone it was messing up. And I have actually been on a delivery before when my phone just malfunctioned, and I couldn't find the location because the phone was malfunctioning. And when it finally got to the point where I could find the location, then it wouldn't let me in the order. And you can't receive any more orders unless you end the one that you're previously in. So I already knew that because my phone was acting up already, because I was trying to find, like, it's this place called Zoop. It's got the most delicious soups and salads. I was trying to find it, and I turned my GPS on, but my GPS was not bringing up the directions to get to this place. So I was like, well, I'm already having troubles. And plus, on top of some of the things that I was going through already, if you add this into it, and then I have my son with me, and then I mean, it was just a lot going on with me at that time. So I was a little frustrated. Well, there is this lake that's down the street from where I'm currently staying. And I had heard Ruach HaKodesh tell me to go to the lake. Well, water has calming properties. So I figured maybe he wanted me to go there because I could feel myself starting to get real agitated. And it was a beautiful day. It was like 80 degrees, but it had a nice cool breeze coming through. So, I mean, it was beautiful. We were on the water. It was amazing. It really was. And I did wind up feeling better once I got there. But then I started thinking, I was like, I think my son is hungry, so let me go get him something to eat. So I get in the car, and my plan was to find him something to eat and just drive around because I literally had just come to the end of myself and was like, I'm just not meant to do food deliveries today. And in my mind, I was calculating, I needed to because I had things that was coming up. So I was like, well, I'm just not gonna be able to do it. Well, when I had gotten $1,000, I had taken the tithe from that. And what I do with my tithes now is I immediately take them out of my increase and I put them in my savings account because I pray and I asked Abba to tell me where he wants me to send. I'm sorry, I'm about to set this down if I can because I'm tired of it being on my legs. I feel like it being on my legs is moving too much. And I'm in a hotel right now. Long story, but yeah. But anyway, so I always take them and put them in my savings account, and then I pray and I ask Abba, where he wants me to send them, because sometimes he tells me to send them to a church, and then sometimes he tells me to actually send them to people or split it up between, different people. So I've, had the honor of being able to bless people that were in need with finances to do things that they need to do. So I already had 2 different tithes sitting in my bank account when I got the $1,000, and I tithed off of that. And then I found out that my younger brother was going through some financial difficulties, and I heard Ruach HaKodesh say, give him all of your tithes. So I gave him all of my tithes. So fast forward back to the day that I was talking about, trying to do the food deliveries. So I'm sitting in the drive-thru at Wendy's because my son said he wanted some chicken nuggets, and when you got a 5-year-old, sometimes you just give them what they ask for. I didn't feel like arguing with him that day. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I get a notification that I had received $200 into my on my Cash App. Now, mind you, I had given my. The only reason why I'm telling you this, I usually don't divulge this type of thing, but it's necessary for the story. I had given him $199.03. So I received $200 with my on my Cash App, and I looked, and it was him. I don't know where he got the money from, but apparently he had received some type of money, and he gave me his tithes. And so I wound up not having to do food deliveries that day because the money that I needed came from him. And, of course, I tithed off the VAT too. But it was kind of amazing how that worked out. But anytime, and I gave my testimony, on my Facebook page. I use my Facebook page for ministry. So whenever I hear the Holy Spirit, whenever I hear Ruach HaKodesh tell me something that he wants me to share, I usually share it on my Facebook page. And, especially testimonies like this. So not too long after those 2 testimonies, here it is today. It started yesterday. My car insurance last month, they tried to, because in 2019 I got into a car accident, and apparently they charge you 3 years for an accident that you've had. So so basically my insurance went down. Every year, whatever state you live in, they pull your driving record. It's once per year. So my insurance had been going down because they raised it because of the accident, and it had started going down. But then this year, when they pulled the driving history again, it went back up. So, and I found this out through calling the insurance company. So the woman on the phone wound up getting it to where not only am I paying less but I'm also paying less than I was when I first got my insurance on the car when I first got the car. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I gave people that testimony too, and I was like, okay, I see you, I see you. So this month, the way I have it set up is my insurance automatically comes out of my bank account because in most states, I don't know how it is in every state, but I know for Georgia, for sure, if your car insurance is late even just one day, they will cancel that sucker, and then you have to go through getting it back and all the other stuff, and I'm like, I ain't got time for it. So I might be late on my car note, but I am never late on the car insurance. But I also have it set up to where they send me notifications. It's supposed to be a few days before, but lately it's only been like a day before it takes it out. So yesterday I got a notification that my car insurance is going to come out today, but the amount was like $300 something dollars. Mind you, when I first got the insurance, it was 180 something. It went up to 2 something because of the accident. Went down to 190 something. Went back up to 2 something, and then went down to 180 something when I talked to them about, you know, basically. So apparently, the balance from the old insurance that I had, they tried to tack it onto this one. Now, mind you, the woman that I spoke with, very amazing woman. I hold nothing against her. It might have even been our conversation that distracted her from telling me that that's what would happen. So now I'm on the phone with my insurance company like, yo, like what's going on? Even to the point where I was like, well, can you just take the regular amount, the 180 something out now, and then in 2 weeks I'll give you the 120 something, because that was the difference between what was left off from the previous insurance policy I had. And then I said, and then next month you can just take out the regular, amount. They were like, no. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, she said if you pay the 120, it's just going to go towards, basically they're prorating the 120 over the next few months, which is going to put my insurance back up to what it was before the woman even got on the phone with me and lowered it down to the 180 something. So I'm like, okay. Then with the hotel situation. So I'm in this hotel. I had actually got this hotel for somebody, but when they left out of town today, because the hotel's in my name, but the card that was on file was their card because they were the one paying for it. They were just using my discount since I work at a hotel. So I decided that, I was going to extend 2 extra days and just pay for the 2 days out of my own pocket. Well, there was a glitch in the system, and it wound up charging me for all 5 days instead of charging them for 3 days and then charging me for 2. So now I got this pending in my. So basically, I had that happen. I testified about it, and then I had this happen, and it's other stuff going on. But needless to say, I had a very real day with Abba. I fully believe in being 100% transparent with him. Because his word tells us to worship him in spirit and in truth. And my truth of my relationship with him is sometimes I'm not always willing to sacrifice Isaac on that mountain. Sometimes I'm like Elijah after he destroyed Jezebel's prophets, and then he went cowering underneath that tree because she had threatened his life, and I'm like, I'm just ready to die. And sometimes I'm like Habakkuk, who's like, Lord, why do you keep letting these wicked people get away with all the stuff they're getting away with? And then sometimes I'm like Jonah, and I'm like, yo, I don't want to minister to them because, real talk, I feel like they deserve whatever it is that you have for them. And that's just me keeping it real. Sometimes I feel that way. Now, praise Yah, that majority of the time I am willing to sacrifice Isaac on that mountain. So it's not common for me to feel the other ways that I mentioned, but it does happen. And because Yahuwah's word tells us not only are we supposed to worship him in spirit and in truth, but we're also supposed to confess our sins to him because he's faithful and just to cleanse us of all sins and forgive us of our sins and cleanse us of our unrighteousness. I always get it wrong, but eventually get it right. But yeah, so we're supposed to confess how we feel because it's a relationship. So if you think about your best friend might say or do something that you don't particularly care for. Maybe they even kind of hurt your feelings. Because that's your best friend, you probably would feel comfortable, or at least I hope you do. If you don't feel comfortable, you might want to reconsider them being your best friend. But you should feel comfortable enough with your best friend to be like, yo, I don't really appreciate what you just said or did or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You're being honest with them. Because at the end of the day, you don't have that fear that your honesty is going to end that friendship. As a matter of fact, it might even strengthen that friendship because you guys are able to be open and honest and really show the true sides of who you are. So the way I look at it is Abba, with him being the most high, he can already see what's in our hearts. So there's no point of me walking around and pretending like I'm Abraham sacrificing Isaac when deep down inside I'm really Jonah running away from the task. Because he sees that and he's looking like, why are you lying? So I'm not going to lie to Abba. And today I just had one of those days where I was like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm over it. I don't feel like doing this. Like, I'm sick of ministering to people. I'm sick of doing, like, I was just really honest with him. Because, I mean, and like I said, it's not out of ungratefulness and it's not out of complaining. It's out of me respecting our relationship enough to be honest with him. Because at the end of the day, once I'm honest with him, he usually winds up fixing my heart. And then I'm able to go even harder, you know, because all it was an attack. And sometimes I'm able to withstand the attack in the ideal way, and sometimes I'm not. My walk is not pretty with him. I'm sorry, I don't have a pretty walk. Sometimes my walk looks like I'm sick of spit. And that's literally what I tell him, I'm sick of spit. So that was just a long way of me saying how important it is for us to just be open and honest. That's the difference between having a religion and having a relationship. Because in a religion, you're constantly acting like everything is okay. You're constantly playing a role and pretending to be something that you truly aren't. But in a relationship, especially a true, genuine, authentic, intimate relationship, you are yourself. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying be yourself and that be your excuse for remaining the same. Because we are supposed to change. We're supposed to confess how we're feeling so we can be transformed. We're supposed to be open and honest so we can be transformed. Yahuwah does not, first of all, it's impossible to go into his presence and come out of his presence the same. But he also doesn't desire that for us anyway. So if your intention is to tell him how you feel, but you have no intention of being changed once he, hears you, then at that point you're just complaining. You're complaining, you're being ungrateful because you don't want him to change you. You just want to tell him how you feel and what you're not going to do, and that's it. So the funny thing is, let me tell you about Abba. So I say today is Sunday. I do observe the Sabbath, but when I'm led to, I also go to Sunday services. And I don't care what anybody thinks about that. I'm going to go. I'm going to do what Abba tells me to, and that's just that. And there is a particular church that I've been going to. So here's the funny thing. I had this conversation this morning with Abba, and I'm just like, the whole time I'm talking to him, this is how I know that I was telling him because I wanted him to change it. The whole time I'm talking to him about it, I'm getting ready to go to church. If I was really just complaining, I would be like, I'm not going to church, But I was like, I'm getting ready to go to church, and I'm having this conversation with him. I get there, and the pastor delivers this sermon that literally is like Abba is speaking through him to me, even to the point where several times in the sermon, he looks directly at me, and he's like staring at me for a good long bit. Like, there was one thing that I remember in particular that I said to him. I was like, sometimes it feels like I'm being punished. Like, am I being punished? Did I do something that I'm not aware of? Like, what's going on? And like in the sermon, the pastor looks over at me and he says, I know you feel like you're being punished, but I promise you, you're not being punished. You're being pruned or something like that. But it was just, I was like, okay, Abba, I hear you. Okay, I got it. So then I went to another service after that one because I was led to go to that service. As a matter of fact, I had been telling the pastor I was going to come to that service anyway. I get to that service and he's talking to me, and I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. I heard you loud and clear. So it's 12:07 at night right now. So it's technically Monday now. And I cried today. I got everything all out. Um but I just want to say, like, don't feel like you have to be this perfect robot that approaches Abba with the right answer every time. Because think about it. When Yeshua was in the Garden of Gethsemane before his unlawful arrest by the Sanhedrin, he said, Father, take this cup from me. Now, he did turn around and say, yet let it be your will, not my will. But I feel like in that one little moment, he was showing that it's okay to not want to be persecuted. It's okay to be human and want to protect your flesh. It's okay to be human and not like what's spiritually being done to you. It's okay. As long as you realize at the end of the day, not your will, not my will, but his will be done. As long as you come to that conclusion, he is perfectly okay with you being human. That's the whole reason why we should feel blessed that we have a God, an Elohim, that not only is able to look down and see us and what we're going through, but has actually experienced this thing we call humanity for himself. He came in the flesh in the form of Yeshua HaMashiach, and so he knows how it feels to be over it. And every time I tell people, this is how I talk to God, and this is what I say to him and whatnot. I'm sorry I'm playing with my hair, you guys. It's just, I fidget sometimes. I know that I see the looks that people give me, like, you said that to God? Yeah, I mean, that's my Father. So it's not out of disrespect. It's actually out of respect that I'm not lying to him. It's out of respect that I'm not doing what Adam and Eve did. See, a lot of people have missed that. In the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve covered their nakedness with clothes, they tried to fix a spiritual problem with a physical solution. What they failed to realize was their physical nakedness was of no relevance. Their spiritual nakedness is what Abba wanted. And in them attempting to cover their physical nakedness, that's when their spiritual nakedness was then actually covered. Because they, at that point, were attempting to hide spiritually from Abba. They were attempting to cover up what they had spiritually done. In essence, they were lying to him. And that's the exact opposite of how he wants us to be. So, if you really think about it, my response today was actually more along the lines of what he wants from us. Honesty. Because if I'm honestly not feeling it that day, and I'm just like, yo, listen, that's how he wants me to respond. But then there's days where I'm just on cloud nine. I'm like, yes, I'm okay with it, because I've been going through some stuff. Since the last time you saw my video, I've been going through a lot of stuff. And there's days where I'm like, you know what? Whatever, I'm gonna do this. And then there's days where I'm like, you know what? I'm over it. The only difference between the two is, in the first instance, I was actually able to be in his presence. Lately, it's like I've had to fight to be in his presence and worship him. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but just know the enemy has been trying to hinder my worship, my praise and worship, the time that I spend with Abba, and I know why. That's where we get our strength from, our power, our second wind, which is really like a millionth wind. But that's where we get it from. We get it from being in praise and worship with Him. And all right, I'm not gonna babble because now that I've gotten my point out, I have a habit of going into that babble. But yeah, just worship Him in spirit and in truth. Another thing that He has been teaching me, and I'm not gonna be long, is there is a part in the Bible, and I want to say it's in Acts 9. I'm not 100% sure, but it talks about the elders of, I guess you could say, the Christian church, and they were all from different places. And because they were all from different places, they all had the core foundation of Yeshua HaMashiach, but then some of their practices were just slightly different. So it would be the equivalent of having a Lutheran, a Pentecostal, a Presbyterian, a Catholic, and a Baptist and a Methodist all in the same room. Their core foundation is supposed to be Yeshua HaMashiach, although they all have different, like, whatever, doctrines or whatnot, which the doctrine should be the same too, but I'm just saying, the Baptists focus on baptism, where the Methodists focus more on the methods of Mashiach and so on and so forth. Pentecostals are more in Ruach HaKodesh, stuff like that. And I think the Presbyterians kind of combine the three of them together. But anyway, my whole point is He's been showing me how to come together with people that don't necessarily, because right now He's been bringing a lot of people into my life that say Jesus Christ, along with people that say Yeshua HaMashiach as well. But what He's showing me is everything that we're all saying is biblical. It's found in the Bible. But He gave us different audiences. So all of us that are saying Yeshua HaMashiach, our audiences are similar, versus the ones saying Jesus Christ. And quite frankly, the ones saying Jesus Christ are probably called to the Gentiles. I'm not going to correct you on the name, because the doctrine is the same as the doctrine that I'm walking in. And I don't even know where that came from. Apparently it was something that I needed to say. But I will tell you this much. It's some things that's been going on in my life since there was a yes that I said recently that was a very major yes. And when I'm released to tell you what it is, I can't wait to tell you, actually. But that's why I'm going through some of the stuff I'm going through, which I haven't been given permission to tell you the things I'm going through, other than the ones that I've already, mentioned to you. But there's way more to it. But the fact that I'm smiling, I'm making this video, and I hadn't made one in a while. Like I said, just worship Him in spirit and in truth. He doesn't want actors. When Yeshua would call the Sanhedrin, which consists of the scribes, the Pharisees, the lawyers, the Sadducees, when He would call them hypocrites, that is the Greek word hypocrites, which means actor. So Yeshua was calling them actors, basically telling us that He doesn't want a bunch of actors that have a religion. He wants children that have a relationship with Him. Yeah. So, with that being said, I say Happy Father's Day to the most amazing father in the entire planet and beyond, Abba Yahuwah, who your heart is safe with Him. Okay? All right. I've babbled long enough. I hope you guys have a good evening. I'm probably going to make another video tonight because I finally have time to actually make another video. I haven't even had the last two newsletters. I didn't even make them because of the stuff that's been going on. So yeah, All right. Shalom.